Hello and welcome to my tutorial. In this video, painting up a Vandus Hammerhand and his Dracoth, the Lord Celestant of the Stormcast Eternal faction. I'm keeping him in the standard gold color as I feel it's appropriate for him as he is the leader. And stay with that color scheme. With some of my other figures I'm doing some different variations. For better access to the model, I'm keeping him in two parts. I'm going to start with the Dracoth. When I think of dragons, I think of elemental type dragons, things made of bronze or silver or gold, so I'm going with a kind of a cobalt metal look here that you'll see. Starting with some dark blue with a little black just to darken it up. This is kind of a purplish blue color, but it works. And I just gradually add a little bit of white to give it most animals, especially lizards, they have a lighter color of shade of their main color on their belly and legs. So I wanted to go with that here. Just hitting all those underparts. Then I'm going to bring it in a little bit lighter, more of the centered. I'm over exaggerating the color a little bit here because it's going to be brought down a lot with the wash coming up next. I'm just going to hit all the skin with Newland oil. Don't go too heavy, just putting a nice even coat. This will tie all those colors together and overall darken it. As you can see, nice even coat. Now I'm going to come in with primarily shadow gray with a little bit of magic blue just to give it a tint of blue. Just going to lightly dry brush all the edges, bring out the detail. I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the underparts where it should be naturally a little lighter. And I bought this metallic air, Vallejo metallic air, Arctic blue. Pretty nice. I haven't had too much opportunity to use it. It has a very nice sheen. It's a metallic paint, so I just lightly apply a little on the where you would imagine that like the steel hard area of the model would be, like his scales, some of his pads on his elbows and whatnot, and his face. Just it gives it a nice little metallic look, but you don't want to go too much with this, so it'll be too shiny and distract from the rest of the paint job. But this gives it a nice metallic cobalt dragon look. I'm going to work in some of the fleshy bits with some Screamer Pink, the eyes, the side of the nose, and the mouth. It wasn't covering too well, so I went in the inside and I applied some white at the back of the throat and the eyes to give it a more reflective. Your colors will cover, especially bright colors, will cover better over white. I'm just adding sun yellow to the eye, kind of a glowy effect. Some sun yellow at the back of the throat, and you kind of work your way out. I didn't show, but I put bloody red as well as inside just to give it a little bit more fleshy look. And I'm going over all the horns and spiked areas. I didn't want them to be the same color as the teeth and claws. Wanted to give them more of a harder stone look, so I'm going over with celestra gray to start. I just add a little bit of shadow gray or black. You just want to tone down a little bit and just keep applying and angle towards the end of the horn as your paint gets darker and darker until you have almost a very pure shadow gray or black. And then just wipe your brush off and kind of lightly blend it inwards a little more to get a better blend. I'm just going to line it with pure celestial gray. Nice stone. This looks harder, something that you can bash its enemies with. Let's start on the gold Retributor armor. There's quite a lot, and it's right next to the skin, so you want to be very careful and just take your time. Rather intensive process here, but this model has a lot of gold on it. As well as Vandus himself. Took a couple coats, but nice even coverage. Be careful with all these spikes, because a couple of them broke off when it came in the package, so I had some trouble gluing them back on. These models have a lot of little pieces that are easily broken. I'm just going to hit all the gold with reckling flesh shade. This time going a little bit lighter so that I don't have to add so much of a mid-tone again. The Uruk armor gold. Just a few little bits here and there, some steel, stirrups, some little lightning bolt designs. In box art's usually white, but I decided to go steel. I went a little heavy with my paint on my brush here, but just block in this base coat, fist in red, this cloth piece that sits over under the saddle. Morphing brown, hit all the little leather bits and the stirrups, and there's quite a few of those straps holding the armor on around his body. One on his neck and one on the top of his head as well that I don't really show. That can be easily missed. I did his saddle, even though this is pretty much going to be covered. I did it anyway. Tantor blue. It's a nice fine brush. You can go with smaller. I think this was just a number 1. It's nice and good sharp point. Get you in those little areas. Didn't show it, but I also did his cloak. This little bit here is actually from the underside, so you don't need to get that. I'll be doing the underside in a celestial gray white mix. Let's hit this shaft with some screamer pink, or whatever color you choose. Black or dark brown would be fine. His mane of hair on his helmet, doing a Mephiston red. Now all his teeth and claws, as well as the parchment on the Lord Celestant, it's doing with Xandri dust. Get a nice even coverage. Always go thinner and do multiple coats if you need to. We'll just block in the celestra gray on the underside of the cloak. This took about 3 coats to get a nice even coat, so there was no black streaks showing. I did that little symbol in gold a little sooner than I should have. Made it hard to kind of get around it with the gray. I'm going to hit a bunch of areas with Newland oil, the hair, all the steel parts, as well as the leather areas. A little bit of blue just around some of the parts that define it, so when you come in with the highlight it'll stand out a little more, as well as this red cloth area just laid in folds. Some reckling flesh shade. Took a couple coats to really get it settled in there when you do. For this claws, kind of stroke down towards the base of the claws so the color builds up a little bit more on the where his teeth and claws connect with the hand and mouth. And just to touch up some of the areas that shouldn't have too much shade, lyric armor gold. Because I went lighter with the shade this time, I didn't have to apply too much. You'll get the real definition with the highlight gold. And just hit all the edges with Liberator Gold. This will make it stand out a lot more. I didn't film it, but for our final highlight for gold, I took a little Vallejo Model Air aluminum and hit just the very highest, sharpest areas. Just a little bit more bling. And for all the leather, Parasite Brown. with a little Cantor blue, Techless blue for the first highlight. It's hitting all the edges. And then more of a pure Techless blue. And then the last highlight I did a little Techless blue with white, just for the corners and top edges. Did that over the entire, all the blue areas. There's the cape and on the armor on the. Came with some bloody red. Started working up to a highlight on all the red cloth. There's no real mix. I just slowly started adding a little bit of orange fire, bringing it up to almost a orange fire color, probably a 1-to-1 mix, orange fire, bloody red. For the parchment, I just lightly dry brushed on some Shopty bone. Doing an up and down pattern to match the streaks in the parchment. Just some straight Shopty bone, thinned a little, hit the edges, going up only about 2/3. Don't go straight all the way to the base of the claw or teeth. You want to bring it towards the tip. Trying to create some lines as well, if you have a sharp enough point. Brightening up the still areas with some aluminum from Vallejo Model Air. It's a very thin, strong paint. You only need a very small amount on your brush. I hit this symbol as well. Now I put on my palette with some shadow gray and then celestial gray for the midtone and then white, and I kind of just mixed 1-to-1, creating midtones, and just worked from the shadow up to the highlight with the white at the highest points. Had a bad angle, so I didn't film it too good, so I cut it kind of short. But just wet blend. If you need more time, add a little bit of slow dry to it. Give you a little more time to wet blend, and just, it's a lot of tweaking, going back, just to get it right. Just do your best. Same process with the blue cape. Some black, Cantor blue, Techless blue, and white. Just 1-1 mixes up until you have a steady tone from the dark to the light. Just worked my way up. Also did those symbols in gold, and then lightly went around the symbols with some Newland oil to make them pop a little more. It's just a process. Go over, and you'll probably end up going over quite a few times like I do, tweaking it here and there. I didn't show it, but in the end I added a little bit more white to Techless Blue and got the highest areas. Just try to be as even, as smooth as you can. If you go over, just go in with your mid-tone and blend it in. I didn't think I have the good enough skill with the brush to get a nice straight line here, so I opted for a pin. Give you a pretty even cover. Just keep in mind that the ink will not dry for a good while, and if you touch it, it will smudge, so try not to touch it. And when I put it together, there was a gap where the legs should join, so I had to do a little green stuff in there to try to model it after the look of those soft bits. Some lines went in black, and then some cold gray. And I wanted the base to be a little bit more scenic, so I filled it out with some cork sheets, glued it down with some standard white glue, then I went over it with some spackling paste to just fill it in, and then let the spackling paste dry a little bit, and it becomes easier to sculpt. I sculpted in some rock shelf little formations, and I just painted that with some grays to highlight, some light grays, dark grays, little browns on the base. It seemed a little, I thought I could do a little bit more, so I thought I'd give it a hand at some green stuff sculpting. So did some extra little vines tied in with the vine on the top. Just painted that with some Rhinox hide and some morphing brown. And that's it. Nice tabletop standard, I don't know if showcase, but good, nice tabletop standard you could be proud of playing on the table. A little more scenic, but not so much so that you can't enjoy it on the table. And that's it. Thank you for watching. If you like this, please subscribe and like, and goodbye.